Now a problem based on logarithm. Friends, a very simple problem. Since here we have to find out the value of x. Now what is happening over here? Just listen to me carefully. This expression is equal to 0. That means the value from this value must be 1, because log 1 to the base 5 will be 0, because log 1 is always 0 whatever is the base. That means this value must be 1. Now if it is 1, that means this portion, that is this portion should be 4, because log 4 to the base 4 will be 1. That means if index and base is same, then the value of this expression is 1. That means this is 1, right? I'm sorry, 4. Okay, log 4 to the base 4 is 1, so this must be 4. Now if this is 4, that means x square minus 11x plus 1 is equal to, this will be 81. I just write it over here. Log 3 x square minus 11x plus 1 must be 4. That means x square minus 11x plus 1 is equal to 81. That means x square minus 11x is equal to 80. That means x minus 16, x plus 5 is 0. That means x is equal to 60. Okay, I hope you are clear. The midpoints of four sides of a regular hexagon are joined to form a rectangle. What is the ratio of area of rectangle to that of the hexagon? I just draw a diagram quickly. Now I have drawn this diagram over here. This is an hexagon, and by joining the midpoint of these adjacent sides, I have formed a triangle. A rectangle. Now we have to find out the ratio between areas of rectangle to that of hexagon, right? Now, very simple, friends. A, B, C and D. I assume the length of this hexagon to be 2a, right? That means this length is 2a. Okay. Now obviously the figure is symmetric. This line will pass through, this is the midpoint of this line and this is the midpoint of this line. So this line will pass through the midpoint of this triangle also. So if it is passing through the midpoint of this triangle, that means, and this line is parallel to this line, that means the length of this line will be from this to this will be half of this. That is the midpoint theorem. Okay, so it must be A. Now the figure is symmetric, so if it is A, it has to be A, it has to be A. That is, the length of this rectangle is 3A. Similarly, this complete angle is 120 degree, that means this angle will be 60 degree. This length will be, the entire length is 2A, so this is A. So we can calculate this length. So this length, I suppose it is P. So P and A, the relationship is given by sine theta. So sine 60 degree, that is root 3 by 2 is equal to P by A. Okay. So P is equal to root 3 by 2A. So double this length will be root 3A. Now we got the sides of rectangle, that is root 3A and 3A. So this is the area of the rectangle. Okay. Now we have to find out rectangle by hexagon. So this is the area of rectangle. Hexagon, there will be 6 equilateral triangle, and area of each equilateral triangle is root 3 by 4 side square. So side is 2A, so it's 4A square. Root 3 by 4 side square, and 6 equilateral triangles are there, right? Root 3, A square. So it's 3 by 6, that's 1 by 2. Okay, simply you can do. I hope you are clear. Now, a problem based on geometry. The interior angle of an n-sided regular polygon is an integer. If n is an odd number, then how many values are possible for n? Friends, you must be knowing that the formula for sum of all the angles of an n-sided polygon is n minus 2 into 180, right? Then where n starts from 3, greater than equal to 3. That means if n is 3, the sum of the 3 angles will be 180 degree. And if we want the value of each angle, then just divide it by n, right? Now we want the interior angle of n-sided regular polygon is an integer. That means this value must be an integer. If this has to be an integer, that means 180 by n should be an integer, right? Because then only the entire term will be an integer. Now here n is an odd number, so we have to find out the factors of 180 which are odd numbers. Okay, so 180 is actually this 20 into 9, that is 2 square into 5 into 3 square. Now if we want the odd factors, we have to neglect this. So it's we start with 3, then 5, then 9, then 3 into 5 15, then 9 into 5 45. We'll be having 5 factors, right? So n can take 5 values, and with all these values, any of these values, we'll be getting an integral value, right? So your answer is 5. Okay. Now this problem seems to be complicated but very easy one. Here we can see the difference between the two numbers 5, 9, 9, 13. The difference is 4, right? So what we can do is we take individual term and rationalize that. Here it is root 5 plus root 1. So I multiply and divide the expression by root 5 minus 1. Right? So here it is root 5 minus 1, and in the denominator root 5 plus 1, and into root 5 minus 1, that will produce 4, right? So in the entire calculation I'll be getting 4 in the denominator. Here I'm getting root 5 minus 1, here I'll be getting root 9 minus root 5, right? Similarly here I'll be getting root 13 minus root 9. Okay, at the last I'll be getting root 121 minus root of 117. Okay, so if we simplify this, all the terms will be cancelled except this minus 1 and this root 121, because in the previous expression there will be there might have been root of 113 plus root of 117. So root of 117 might have been positive, so here it's negative, so even it will be cancelled, right? So it's 1 upon 4. 121, square root of 121 is 11, and 11 minus 1, it is 10. So precisely 10 by 4, 5 by 2. Okay, so that is none of these over here. I hope you are clear. Now this problem, in a rectangle ABCD, the diagonals meet at point P. Point E is the midpoint of BC. The line AE intersects BD at point Q. If the area of rectangle is 24 square units, and what is the area of triangle APQ? A very simple problem, friends. We can see 4 triangles over here. So each triangle, all the triangles will be having the same area. This, and this triangle, right? That means each part is of 6 square units. That means triangle APB should also be of 6 square units, right? That means area of triangle APQ must be less than 6. So these two options are eliminated. After that, 4 and 2, we have 2 options left. Clearly it can be seen that the area of this triangle APQ will be 2, right, among 4 and 2 if we choose. Now logically, how could we decide that? See, this BP is actually median, right, because P is the midpoint of AC. So in triangle ABC, BP is the median. Now is the median is passing through Q, that means Q is what? Centroid. Now centroid, it divides this line, or we can say median, in 2:1 ratio. That means this is 2 part and this is 1 part, right? So this is actually the base of both the triangles, triangle APQ and triangle AQB, right? This is the same base for both the triangles, right? So they will be sharing the base in the, they are sharing the base in the ratio 1:2. That means they will be sharing the area also in the ratio 1:2, right? So the total area of this is 6. So the breakup will be 1:2. That means area of this will be 2 and area of this will be 4. So we are interested in area of APQ, that will be 2. Okay, I hope you are clear. No much paperwork is required, just a very simple conceptual problem. Now we have a problem based on number system. A is the set of all integers from minus 200 to 200. How many subsets of A having exactly 399 elements can be formed such that sum of all the elements in each subset is either 1 or minus 1? In all, from minus 200 to 200, 401 elements will be there, right? And we have to make the sets of 399, right? Each set should contain 399 elements. That means we just have to drop 2 elements every time for making a set. So to elaborate this concept, I take a smaller example. Instead of minus 200 to 200, suppose I take minus 3 to 3, right? Minus 3, minus 2, minus 1, 0, 1, 2 and 3. As in this case, 401 elements are there and we have to make the sets of 399. In this case, there are 7 elements, so we have to make the sets of 5 elements. Okay, now listen to me carefully. If I drop off 2 numbers, that is suppose minus 3 and 2, right? So the remaining number will produce the sum as either 1 or minus 1. You can very well calculate it as minus 1, 1 is cancelled, 3 minus 2, 1 is left, right? Or if I drop 3 and minus 2, the remaining number will give the sum as minus 1. Here it is sum 1 and here it is sum minus 1, right? So even number of times, same number of times will be getting 1, same number of times will be getting minus 1. So in all, the total number of sets will be an even number. The same thing will be applied over here also. So these 2 options are eliminated. After that, similarly, if you take minus 2 from this side and 1 from this side, and just add the remaining numbers, minus 3 and 3 is cancelled, so 2 minus 1, you will be getting 1 only, right? So the same procedure if we follow for this also, over here I just calculated for final. So it's, first of all we dropped minus 3, then we dropped minus 2, similarly we can drop minus 1, right? So here we'll be getting 3 sets, similarly here we'll be getting 3 sets. So in all there will be 6 sets, right? If there are 7 numbers, we'll be getting 6 such sets, right? And 3 times we'll be getting minus 1 as a sum and 3 times we'll be getting 1 as a sum. So the same funda if I apply on 401 elements when I'm making the combination of 399 elements in each set. 200, I'm starting from minus 200. So 200 sets from the here and 200 sets from here. In all, I'll be getting 400 sets of the type when each set is having 399 elements and sum of the elements is either 1 or minus 1. Okay. Further, I elaborate this: minus 200, minus 199, minus 198, here 198, 199, 200, right? Initially I dropped minus 200 and 199, right? Sum of, from minus 198 to 198, sum of all the numbers will be 0 and then we are left with minus 199 and 200, the sum will be 1. In the next case, we carry on with this, we drop minus 199 and 200 and we carry on with this, right? So the sum of the remaining numbers will be further minus 198 to 198, it will be 0. Then we are left with minus 200 and 199. So sum will be minus 1, right? So from each number, from the left hand side of 0, corresponding a value that is plus or minus 1 to it should be eliminated. So 2 numbers we keep on eliminating from each set and the remaining numbers will produce sum as 1 or minus 1. If you're still not clear, just take some more examples like this on a paper, then it will be better cleared in your mind. Okay. Now this problem, A1, A2, A3, A8 are 8 real numbers belonging to this interval. What is the minimum possible value of this expression A1, A2 plus A2, A3? Now these are real numbers but not necessary to be distinct, right? Because it's not mentioned over here. right? Now we have to find out the minimum possible value of this expression. So among the option, if we can take a clue, the options are multiple of 8 and we have one option as 0. Now we have to see whether we can achieve a negative value of this expression or not, right? Now suppose I take a1 and a2 as 8 and minus 8. One of them is 8 and other of them is minus 8. So I'll be able to get a negative value. So if negative value is can be achieved, then 0 is already eliminated. Now the least negative value which can be achieved from this addition is what? See, if I take a1, a2, a2, a3, suppose here a1 is 8, a2 is minus 8, then a2 is minus 8, a3 is 8, right? So 8 times I'll be getting 8 into minus 8. 8 times 8 into minus 8, that means minus 8 cube, that will be minus 512. Okay, no much paperwork is required because it is not given that a1, a2, a3, all of them are distinct. Okay, so we can take the value of 2 as same. I hope you are clear. Now this question, both the HCF and difference of two numbers is 4. If the LCM of two numbers is a 3-digit number, then what is the maximum possible value of the smaller number? Now HCF is 4, that means we can assume the numbers to be 4x and 4y, right? So 4x and 4y, the difference between them is 4. That means we have to choose two consecutive multiples of 4, right? I just explain you over here. 4x minus 4y is equal to 4. That means x minus y is equal to 1. That means we have to choose two consecutive multiples of 4, right? Now obviously both the numbers will be multiples of 4. So, and we are asked about the smaller number. So 198, it is automatically discarded because it is not multiple of 4. Now we are left with 44, 60 and 64. Now we have to find out the maximum possible value of the smaller number. If 44 is the smaller number, then the bigger number will be 48. If 60, then 64, and 64 then 68. Okay. Now out of these three, the LCM of the number should be a 3-digit number. LCM will be what? Suppose I have the number 60 and 64, then LCM will be 4 into 16 into 15, right? So by calculating this, I just find out the limits of the numbers. So I get the maximum a 3-digit number. Now 64 into 15 or 15 into 4, that is 60 into 16, that is 960, right? So this is 960, and 64 into 60, definitely it will be a 4-digit number. So we want the LCM to be a 3-digit number. So maximum possibility is the LCM to be 960 when the numbers are 60 and 64. That means the smaller number must be 60, right? Just a simple conceptual problem, no much paperwork is required, and you must be clear that if the numbers are having HCF as 4, that means the numbers can be assumed as 4x and 4y, right? Where x and y are co-prime to each other. Okay, I hope you are clear. Now this problem, how many real values of x satisfy this equation? 2 box x plus 5 is equal to 9x, where box x represents the lowest integer greater than equal to x. Friends, we have discussed two types of functions. One is greatest integer function and other is lowest integer function. I just take one or two examples over here. See, if it is 5.2, then this bracket will produce 5 and this bracket will produce 6, right? So that is the difference between these two. Okay, it drops the fractional part, this bracket drops the fractional part, and in this bracket the next integral number is taken into consideration. Or we can say this is the greatest integer less than this, greatest integer less than this, and this is least integer greater than this, right? Least integer greater than this. Be very careful about it, right? So suppose I have a number, say 5.2, it can be written as 5 plus 0.2, right? So this is x, then this is box x plus this is fractional part, or I can say it is I plus f. Okay, so here similarly, if I have this number 5.2, this is x, it can be written as maybe I assume this to be say p, then this is p plus 1 minus f. I'm sorry, p minus 1 plus f. Okay, so p is what? 6 minus 1 plus fractional part. Okay, so this is the concept you should be knowing, but here in this case we will be using this one, because here this number is being used, that is lowest integer number, right? So I replace this bracket x to p, so 2p plus 5 is equal to 9, and x can be written as p minus 1 plus f, right? P minus 1 plus f, that is x. 5.2 is x, that is this function, that is lowest integer function, minus 1 plus fractional part. Okay, so it is 2p plus 5 is equal to 9p minus 9 plus 9f, right? So this much you must be knowing, right? So this is actually not paperwork, your paperwork starts from here. So 2p plus 5 is equal to 9p minus 9 plus 9f, right? 9p minus 2p is 7p, 7p plus 9f is equal to 14. Now this is the equation that you are getting. Now we know that fractional part should be greater than equal to 0 and less than 1. So I find out the value of f from here. So it's 14 minus 7p by 9. That is the value of f. Now it should be greater than equal to 0. So in that case, what will happen? 7p is less than 14. That means p should be less than equal to 2, right? So less than 2, we have got good number of numbers. So we have to find out the bottom range also. So 14 minus 7p by 9 should be less than 1 as well, right? That means 14 minus 7p should be less than 9. Okay? That means 7p should be greater than 14 minus 9, that is 5. So it says p is greater than 5 by 7. So obviously p has to be greater than the 5 by 7, because 5 by 7 is a fraction and p is necessarily an integer, right? So p is less than equal to 2 and greater than 5 by 7. So finally p is greater than 5 by 7 and less than equal to 2. So we have two values of p, that is greater than 5 by 7, that means it is 1 and it is 2, right? So if p is 1 and p is 2, this equation will be satisfied, right? Now let's discuss one step ahead for this problem. So the concept of this greatest and lowest integer function is clear in your mind once for all, right? Now here I have told you that p is, this box x is p, so p is 1 or 2, right? Suppose I take p as 1, so it is 2 into 1 plus 5 is equal to 9x. That means x is equal to 7 by 9, right? The other case, so when p is equal to 2, so 2 into 2, 4 plus 5 is equal to 9x. That means x is equal to 1, right? So we have two solutions, x is equal to 1 and x is equal to 7 by 9. See, in the most places what happens, they forget to consider the fractional part is greater than 0, less than 1. They forget to consider that fractional part is greater than equal to 0. So if this equal to is messed up, this 2 will be missed, right? Because fraction part can be 0 as well, as we can see in this case. Here value of x is 1, we don't have any fraction part, right? In this case we have a fraction part. That's because the value is less than 1. So if x is 7 by 9, that is the smallest integer greater than x, so it will be 1, and the fractional part will be 7 by 9 itself. So friends, I have done a complete postmortem of this problem and by taking some 7 to 8 minutes. So now I'm sure you must be getting this concept, and you can take up some more examples of your own and practice with that, right? And for the first time, if you are not clear, then watch this particular portion of the video once again.